Welcome in, I'm Artress, and in this video we are going to start covering some other decks that got a little bit of love from the OP14 set, and the very first one we're going to cover is Blue Ivankov, one of my favorite leaders to ever come out. It came out all the way back in OP02, which a lot of people nowadays haven't even played back then, so it's definitely a leader that was forgotten, but got some really random support that works very well for what it's trying to do. But before we go over the deck list and how the leader operates, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, please make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So in case you haven't ever seen this leader before, or you just forgot what he does, it says end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in your hand, draw 2 cards, which is a really unique leader ability. And by unique, I mean somewhat bad, because of the fact that usually this card game, you're wanting to keep a big hand size in general. Having to discard cards or having your leader ability proc when you have 0 is kind of a weird one. But because of the deck composition, it actually works out really well. The thing to note about this leader ability is that you are typically going to try to counter out of most hits. Usually with Ivankov, he stays pretty healthy, staying around 4 or 5 life with a minimal amount of cards in hand. Even if an opponent attacks with a 5k swing, sometimes I'll just pitch a 2k just to get cards out of my hand so that the next turn I will have even fewer cards and hopefully get down to that 0 threshold. So starting off, we're running a playset of Buggy. A lot of the cards that we have will be from OP02, stuff that we've already seen in this deck list. But with Buggy, this is a 1-cost searcher that looks at the top 5 of your deck and reveals up to 1 blue impel down type card other than Buggy and adds it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This also is vying for one of my favorite alt arts in the game. One of the reasons why I really like this leader is just because the alt arts for the deck look really great. Next up, I'm running a playset of Kaya 2k counters. This is a 1-cost on play, draw 2 and trash 2 from your hand, so able to dig a little bit deeper into the deck to find some of your combo pieces or also pitch cards out of your hand that may be dead. And also, you will be going down in hand size by playing this out, so it is a pretty solid card for what you're trying to do. Next, I'm running a playset of Prince Ballet. This is a 2-cost, 2000 power character. It's a 2k counter. I hardly ever play this down unless I just need to fill up the board or get rid of cards out of hand. It's a Dawn ×1 when attacking. If you have 1 or less cards in your hand, return up to 1 character with the cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. Sometimes this comes in handy. Most of the time, though, it will be just a 2k counter. Then I'm running 2 of the Mr. 3 Galdino. This came out in PRB 02. It says this effect can be activated when this character is rested by your opponent's effect. You may trash this character and draw 2 cards. This is a very powerful effect against green decks where you have a lot of things that rest characters, especially blockers. So as a result, if this does get rested, you can just draw 2 in its place. Then I'm running a playset of Duval, a 2-cost, 1000 power blocker that says on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and place them at the top or bottom of the deck in any order. This has a couple of really strong uses. One, if you are going second, it's a great opening play to be able to establish what you're going to be playing over the next turn or two, which really helps set up your combo pieces for the next couple of turns. Then also, if you are towards the end of the game and you are playing this down where you have a low hand size and you're going to be drawing into cards, you can establish what you will be drawing at the end of your turn. So Duval is really great in the beginning and also in the late stages of the game. Then I'm running a playset of Inazuma Blocker, came out in OP02. It says if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, this character gains plus 2000 power. So the more that you pitch from your hand, the better this becomes. We are running a playset of Bond Clay. This is a Dawn ×1 when attacking. You may trash 1 card from your hand, return up to 1 character with a cost of 2 or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. Then when this battle ends, return this character to the bottom of its deck. It's not really that great as far as an attacker goes. It is an option to bring out when you are bringing combo pieces out in general, but this is probably one of the weakest ones you can bring out. It is an option. Now on to one of the new pieces that Ivankov got from OP14, a 5-cost, 6000 power blocker in Hannibal. On play, you may trash 3 cards from your hand, play up to 1 impel down type character card with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. This is very interesting because you have some very powerful 6-cost characters, and also you can play this down on 5, cheating out a 6-cost character along with it. So you actually establish a really wide board really quickly with this card, and on top of that, you are getting closer to hitting your leader ability. The card that I really like to bring out with this Hannibal is the 6-cost, 7000 power Inazuma, which came out in EB01. It says end of your turn, if you have 2 or less cards in hand, draw 2 cards. So this, along with your leader ability, will draw you 4 at the end of your turn, which is really strong because a lot of those cards have counter, especially since you're running 12 2Ks. You can then use a lot of that for pitch fodder to be able to get closer to your leader ability the next turn, and this really helps you dig through your deck. Another 6-cost option for the Hannibal is the 6-cost Luffy. It's an on-play, and when attacking, you may trash 2 cards from your hand, return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Then this character gains double attack during this turn. It's a huge threat for your opponent to have to deal with. However, I don't really necessarily find it the best card to play at all times. I, in fact, like to play Inazuma a lot more, so that's why we have 4 of with the Inazuma, and the 6-cost Luffy is a 2 of. I do like to have 1 established established on the field, and when it is established, your opponent's going to likely try to get rid of this as soon as possible because to them it's a huge threat. But honestly, the MVP of the deck has been Inazuma for me. Then onto the 7-cost Ivankov. It is one of our main combo pieces here. It says on play, draw cards, so you have 3 in your hand, and then play up to 1 blue impel down type character card with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. So of course, with this, you can bring out the Luffy we just talked about, we can bring out the Inazuma we just talked about, but you can also bring out the Hannibal, which will also bring out a 6-cost character. So you can go 3 wide on your 7 Dawn turn if you have enough cards to be able to pitch all of those out. Of course, this also will draw you cards since you have been pitching, so likely by the time you are on your 7 Dawn turn to play this out, you're usually down to like 1 or 2 cards in hand, and this will be able to dig a little bit further and then cheat out a body. Then on to the other card that Ivankov got for OP14, the 8-cost 10,000 power Shiryu. Very interesting card here, and it kind of only works in this deck for the most part. It's an on play, return up to 1 character to the owner's hand, then trash all cards from your hand. So this will answer a lot of threats that your opponent throws down. It's a great way to get tempo back into your favor. If your opponent plays a 10-cost character the following turn, you can establish a 2-cost blocker and then play the Shiryu out, bouncing that 10-cost back to hand, gaining you a lot of tempo in the play, and then drawing a lot of cards at the end of your turn, either 2 with your leader ability or 4 if you have the Inazuma on the field. Then I'm running 2 of the new 8-cost 10,000 power Jinbei. This is not specifically made for this deck, but it actually works very well. It says when a card is trashed from your hand by your effect, this character gains rush during this turn, and then on play you may rest 2 of your Dawn cards and draw 2 cards, then return up to 1 character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. So a couple of those options are really strong. The thing here is you have a lot of options to be able to trash, so if you do play this down, you can also give it rush the same turn. So we have the Kaya, which draws 2 and trash 2, so if you are on 9 Dawn, you can play the Jinbei, play the Kaya, and then the Jinbei has rush. Alternatively, you can also use the Luffy effect if it's already established on the field to trash cards from hand, give this double attack, and then also give the Jinbei rush. We also have 2 of the new Kamaland, which is a 1-cost stage. It's an activate main, you may rest this stage. If your leader is Ivankov, draw 1 and trash 1 from your hand, then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. So of course, this will be able to turn the Jinbei online. And then finally, I'm running 2 0-cost event Gum Gum Rains. Just being able to pitch a card from hand to give yourself plus 3,000 power is really nice. We do run some bricks in the deck, and of course, having those to be able to pitch the bricks is very important, especially if you do draw into things like the stage, any of the 8-cost, the 7-cost, and you don't need them for the next turn, and you need to stay alive. The 0-cost events are very important for that. Overall, I'm really happy to see this deck. I got some random support. I really enjoyed playing it in OP02. When the deck first came out, I was playing this, and it was a sea of Whitebeard everywhere, and of course, Ivankov was really an unfavored matchup in general, and at the time, we didn't have nearly as much support as we do now, and so it was a lot harder to crack through against those decks, but I think that this deck has some life in the OP14 meta. I think it's a very good rogue deck, and I actually think it's somewhat competitive if it sees its curve. There's definitely some changes I could make to the deck overall, and we'll go over that at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. All right, into Purple Doffy. I think that this matchup is pretty solid for us if we can get a really wide board established, which it's looking like we have the combo pieces needed. Unfortunately, we are not going first. We want to go first with this deck. We'll grab a 2K with the buggy, and then we'll see what we get off the draw. We don't really have too many options on 4 unless we draw a blocker. 8 into 5, we'll just take that one, and we'll eventually get our hand size down. We will have to play this Kaya out because we have no really other good options. I think we could pitch a Hannibal and a Jinbei. Probably our best options there. We'll swing 5 with our leader, and because they don't have the ability to redirect anything, I'll also swing 5 with the buggy just to really be annoying here. Either ask for a card or they'll have to take another life. Probably give us a card in the process. The next turn, what we can do is then play the Hannibal into the Inazuma, and we should just try to counter out of whatever they throw at us this turn. They do have a lot of options on 5, one of them being Monet, pretty solid. And we'll give them a 2K here, one of the princes. And I think what we can do is, well, the question is, what do we pitch for the Inazuma, or sorry, the Hannibal instead? I think we just swing 6 first, see if they use their ability to redirect into the Monet. Likely will not. They'll probably want to keep this character on the field. And then what we can do is play the Hannibal. I think what we do is pitch one of the Ivankovs, the Inazuma, and the Prince, so that we have the option of the 7-cost or the 8-cost on the next turn. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's pitch those 3, play out the Inazuma, and then draw 2 more from the Inazuma ability. I love this card so much because it just allows you to go through your deck as fast as possible and also keeps you relatively safe from getting lethaled or losing any characters in the process, because you do go up to 4 cards in hand. That's just enough to usually be able to protect stuff that's tapped. Here they play the Dellinger. I thought they were going to play the 8-cost Doffy, but I guess they just don't have it. Really nice for us to at least have to dodge that for a turn, although we still are in a pretty good spot here. Now, I would imagine, okay, wow, okay, 8 into 5, I just kind of have to take this one, and if they go really big with the Monet, I think I'll just take that one as well. This does give us fuel. Ooh, okay. So Gum Gum Rain could bounce back their Dellinger, but I also kind of want to see if I can get something for with the buggy. Like find another combo piece with the 7 cost Ivankov, because ideally what I do here, well, with 2 open, I think I need to swing with the Inazuma first. But let's go ahead and find a combo piece with another Inazuma. Nice to see there. We'll swing with the Inazuma here because of the fact that they might have slow beam. So we do have to respect that. So let's swing here with the Inazuma into the Hannibal into our leader. They're going to redirect into the Dellinger. And they're opting to play the slow beam now. Not a bad play because it obviously will be able to protect themselves. They might have to take 1 hit from a leader, but they don't really care about that, I don't think, at 4 life. Pretty solid. They're able to at least ramp back up and then grab something in the process. So yeah, I don't hate that play. We will then swing 5. I imagine they'll take this one. They don't want to go down too far into hand size. Let's go ahead and play this Ivankov out. Playing out the Hannibal. Hannibal will pitch. This is a tough one. I guess the Shiryu, the Inazuma, and the Jinbei, just so we can have a 2K. And then we'll play out the Inazuma with the Hannibal ability. So we've gone incredibly wide here. And we have a 2 and a 1 to at least protect ourselves if we need it. This being 9, they could have the 8 cost by now, bringing out a 5 cost character. Something to keep in mind there. There he is, the 8 cost Doffy into a Rosinante. Rosinante pitching a slow beam to then draw 2. And then here they'll either swing 6-6 or 5-7. If they swing 5, I have the option to block it, or I could just give them a 1K. And if they do swing 7 with the Monet, I could block, give them a 2K. We will go ahead and give them that 1K Duval. And here is the 7. Okay, we'll just block. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing, but we're just establishing dominance, saying, no, I'm going to block that one. They did not open up 2 Dom with their Rosie, which something to note, but that's fine. Maybe they just don't have another slow beam. We'll just start off with the 7. Let's hit them with as many 7s as possible until they redirect an attack. And once they redirect an attack, boom, we can start swinging 5 with our leader, and then 7s again with the Hannibals, and then an Inazuma. Presumably, they'll probably stay alive this turn, but we also have the option, well, we are going to play the Shiryu. We're going to bounce the 8 cost Doffy back to hand. So let's just try to get out as much value as possible first so that we don't show them our play. We'll go 7 in the lead. This one probably going to be counter out with a 2 and a 1, because if they don't counter out of this one, I have the option of going even bigger with some of the units on the field. So I could potentially lethal them if they don't respect this hit, but I think that most times they will just counter out here. Here's the 2 and the 1. Okay, so we'll give them another 7. See if they give us another 2 and a 1. This one I imagine they'll probably take, and then they might counter out of the next 7. It just depends. They probably are thinking they can go for lethal this next turn based off of my hand size. But like I said, the Shiryu is a great way to bounce back the 8 cost and prevent them from lethaling us unless they are running a rush unit like a 7 cost Sanji. But I don't think Doffys are really running that in any list right now. They also have the option to run 8 cost Rayleigh, but once again, not really ran in too many lists. Here they just have to either try to clear the board, and they decide to concede. Yeah, at this point, what do? Like, I'm 5 wide and every character is huge. It's going to be really difficult for them to come back, let alone any deck for that matter. I personally think Ace is a tough matchup. They choose to go second, which is fine for us. We actually don't mind that. The reason I think Ace is a tough matchup is because we don't really have a way of closing out against an Ace. If they do block her up, we don't have a bypass for that, so they are just grabbing their combo pieces outright. We could swing 8 and punish them for not putting a Dawn underneath their leader, but I think the better option is just to swing 6 and then establish the Duval. Either way, we are kind of punishing them because they do have to give us a card in the process if they really don't want to like lose efficiency here. I want to see this Duval to be able to set up a potential Inazuma the next turn, or Hannibal Inazuma this next turn, which we do have. Okay, that's great to see. We'll go ahead and put the Hannibal at the top so we're able to draw into it. And then we'll be able to play or draw into a buggy Shiryu the next turn. So not bad. But one thing to note is that the Shiryu is something we might need for the 10 cost, but of course that's also not great either. We don't have any 2Ks to give them, so I'm just going to go ahead and snap block that. And then here, we don't have a way to really swing to punish, so we're going to go ahead and use the Hannibal, pitch everything, and then draw into the 2 that we saw. This is where things get a little bit unfortunate if we don't find a piece for the Ivankov this next turn. They also have the option to bounce back our Inazuma with the Jozu if they do have it, so we'll see if they saw their curve, which Once again, this is one of the reasons why Ace is a little bit difficult, because we just kind of pitched our whole hand for what, a Hannibal, if that's the case. We'll go ahead and take this. We do at least see something, which is nice. We'll block and give them a 1k here. And then if they do bounce back, there's the Jozu to bounce back the Inazuma. We can just go ahead and play it again, but we have the Ivankov to do that with. Let's go ahead and swing 6 into lead. And then what we can do is just play out the Ivankov into the Inazuma and pass from there. We aren't able to draw anything from here. Unlucky, but it is what it is. This turn, if they do play out the 8-cost event into the 10-cost Newgate, we might get punished for that. They don't have it quite yet, so that's at least good. Yamato is pretty solid regardless. They're going to be aggressive, and this is really the right play here. Swinging 6, swinging 7. They're not afraid. We're going to have to just take these, unfortunately. And then, of course, the last hit with the ace, either being a 7 or a 9. 7 looks like it. Unlucky into another Shiryu. We don't want to see 2 Shiryus in hand. It's like one of our things that we don't want to see, unfortunately. Unlucky, though. It is what it is. Here, what we're going to do is, I think, swing 6 first. Just 6 to lead. I don't really want to pressure any of the bodies quite yet. If they start giving us cards, I think it's fine to go ahead and then pressure bodies. We'll go 6 into lead again. We also have the option of going Hannibal into a Luffy. So that is also something we can do. We'll go 7. I think 7 maybe into a Jozu's fine, since they are giving us a lot of cards here. Kind of bleed them a little bit, force them to give us more cards. And then, yeah, I think here we might want to play the Shiryu. I think Shiryu's fine. Getting a big body on the field is pretty solid, especially since they pitched a Red Rock. But of course, if they do decide to go really tall here with any of their units, we are in a little bit of trouble. Since they countered out of that one, I think I'm going to go ahead and just pitch everything and give a Luffy down. And then draw into a lot of bricks. At least we have the 0-cost event for the new Kama land. But they're still at 3 life, and they're just now playing out a 10-cost. Unlucky. That's where we maybe should have kept an Inazuma or a Shiryu instead. Here, I'm just going to give him a 0-cost event, pitching out the stage, and then, gosh, we'll block, give him a 1k, and unfortunately, we're going to have to take these 2 hits if that's the case. Oh, man, this is why Ace is so good. This is one of the things that also we ran into problems with against Newgate. Swinging into 6k leaders is sometimes tough when you're using your Dawn a lot. Last turn, obviously, I didn't use it efficiently, but I was trying to play around what they might have. They're probably going to take most of these hits, and understandably so. If they have a Roger, we're definitely just screwed, but we'll have to see if we can do anything here. Let's go ahead and swing with the Luffy. We'll pitch out, I guess, a Inazuma and a Duval, bouncing the Marco back to hand. We'll see if they take this one, go down to 0. They might. They probably don't even feel any kind of like threat here. They're just going to block. That's fine. We'll go ahead and swing 12 into 7, just get a body off the field, so that way we potentially don't die this next turn. I still think we're in a lot of trouble, but maybe we can survive one more turn and maybe push back. I don't know. The Newgate's definitely difficult. That 10-cost Newgate is such a pain, especially when they're at 3 life. But we don't really, I mean, we don't run Red Rock. We're not running anything to really disrupt their hand. That's where Pudding might be coming in handy. Red Rock comes in handy. We just don't really have too many options to really run it here and there. Another 10 cost. I think that probably writes out this game. We'll go ahead and counter out as much as possible and then block these next 2 hits, obviously. They are swinging with the Newgate. Yeah, it is what it is. They're going to go into the Luffy. I'm just going to go ahead and block that one. And I think what we have to do is just pressure with what we have. Let's swing 10 into lead. We'll go ahead and pitch both of these cards and see if they block it. I mean, they probably will. But even if they take it, I don't think they're in any danger of dying. They're definitely not. Look at how many cards they have in hand. We're just kind of like, we're flailing against them right now. It's unfortunate. If they block this one, we have a shot. If we block, we have a shot. We don't actually have a shot. 10 into lead, there's no way. I really don't think there is a way. They have so many cards in hand, but this is all we can do. 2, 2, and a 1. Yeah, that's all she wrote. We'll go ahead and get past the turn, draw 4 cards, and then give them the win here. Unlucky, but hey, you know what? This is a tough matchup in general. I think we played it all right, but yeah, they just saw a lot of good cards in general. That's Ace. They draw a lot and they protect a lot, so hey. Mihawk is a deck I'm excited to play against. In OP02, our hand is pretty solid, by the way. Having a Searcher and an 8 cost is nice. Oh my god, into 3 Ivankovs in the top 5, we have to grab it. Okay, into OP02, green decks were pretty good for Ivankov to face against. You had Kinemon, and I think you had Kid. Kid was kind of like going out of style a little bit. Kinemon was definitely the more popular of the green decks, and I think Ivankov had a really good time against it. Here, we're going to go 8 into 5. We're not going to play the Prince down. There's not really a reason to, because they don't play a lot of 3 cost or lower units. Obviously, they have 2 on the field right now, but we don't really care that those are on the field. Here they're playing an Odin down, which is a pretty solid card I talked about in my video. I'm glad to see it's being ran. It's a pretty solid 4-Dawn turn, and of course it's going to be a nuisance to go against. Here we're just going to swing 5 into lead, and then we can go ahead and play out the Hannibal, pitching a Jinbei, unfortunately a Shiryu, and a Prince in order to play down the Inazuma. Inazuma being a 7k blocker here, which is pretty nice. So we might be able to, they're on 6, might be able to block some of these hits. Or maybe just take. We do need some options, of course. 6-cost Law, so this is the Supernova version here. Pretty solid. I like this version. They're going to use the Law to bounce back their Searcher, play out the Tashigi, rest the Kikunojo, which restands at the end of the turn. Here they might swing, I don't know, if they swing anything, we could block it with the Inazuma, but we also want to see some options for the 7-cost Ivankov as well. Okay, here, I mean, yeah, we could just block. We could just block with the Hannibal, and then if they decide to swing big here, I think we just take it or lose the Hannibal. If they swing anything less than 7, obviously we block. Okay, 8 into... We'll take that one. Sure, why not? Ooh, okay, so this is a really risky spot here where we could go 5, but we have only one card we're drawing with the Ivankov, which definitely sucks. Let's go ahead and swing everything we have here and just pressure them. I think pressuring the Mihawk is pretty solid since they are countering out. We want to ask for 1Ks here and there. Oh my god, we were able to draw something. I got a little bit lucky there. I was a little bit sweating just because I wasn't sure if we were going to get anything with that 1-card draw. But here, we're actually in a pretty good spot where the Shanks coming down is a nuisance, of course, but we can just answer this with the 8-cost Shiryu. They don't have a 3-cost Tashigi on the field to be able to protect any kind of removal. So we love to see that. And here, what we should do is just protect ourselves as much as possible so that we are getting the best value out of our Shiryu. If we can pitch cards from hand to protect ourselves and then be at like 1 card besides the Shiryu, I think we're in a pretty good spot, especially with an Inazuma already established. That's the most important thing here. I think we just protect. Yeah, we just kind of waste their swings. We want to make sure that we're not losing the 7-cost Ivankov in the process. Maybe if we can keep 2 to 3 bodies here, we're pretty happy. I think the Inazuma, the 4-cost Inazuma, is definitely going to go down. I don't mind that. 8 into 6. I think we let that one go just because we want to see what other attacks they bring out. If we lose the 4-cost Inazuma, so be it. Okay, we'll give them a 2 and a 1. So that means they have to swing with the Law, which wouldn't kill it anyway because we'd be at 1 card in hand. Here we're going to play the Shiryu down and then bounce the their Shanks back to hand, swing 5 so that we now have our units buffed up again. Pretty nice overall. And then I think what we could do is swing 7s. They're probably going to take these, maybe counter out of 1. I don't really care about the cards on the board. Cards on the board are not easy to swing into. I'd rather just swing face. And here they could just block 2k. If they block 2k, we might have the option to just go 8 into lead with the Inazuma and really put them down and put some pressure on them, rather. And I think I kind of want to just swing the 8 into lead because they have to block. Yep. I was going to say block or give us a 2 and a 1 with that. The draw is not the best, but hey, it could be better. But we're still in a good spot overall. They are just going to play the Shanks again, which they might want to answer the board if that's the case. This is a pretty solid option for them. Swinging the Kikunojo into the buggy, getting it off the field. 9 into 5, absolutely. Be my guest. Take the Inazuma. I don't mind that at all. If they went 9 into any of the other bodies, they actually would have gone down, but little do they know. 5 into our lead. We'll go ahead and counter out that one, of course. And then if they swing Kikunojo, obviously, we'll just let the buggy die. And then they might swing... Okay, 6 in a lead. We'll have to take this one. We have another combo as well, just in case. But let's see if we can get another Shiryu. We don't. A 2k counter is fine. I think this is good. What we can do is grab the 2k counter, play the new Kama land, and then play an Ivankov into Inazuma, just going even wider. I think we pitched the Inazuma. We might need a blocker, actually, because we don't need double Inazuma. So let's go ahead and swing 5, see what they do here. We have at least one more Dawn to play with, so what we could do is swing 6 here, 7 with the Inazuma, and then 9 with the Shiryu. We are not really respecting any kind of Law and Beppo that they might have. We could swing the 9 first, actually, but I think swinging 6 here is also fine. Not a problem. They give us a... Oh my gosh, they are incredibly bricked up here. Well, at that point, I mean, we could just go 9 and the rest on the buggy, but I think they just gave up because there's... they were out of the game at that point. On to yellow Luffy, I'm going to take first. I really like the fact that we have a buggy and a Hannibal in hand. We also have a 2-cost blocker as well. Let's go ahead and see if we can find perfect Inazuma. So we have the combo ready to go. This next turn, we will play the Mr. 3 Galdino, swing 6 in the lead. We're just trying to establish a wide board against them. That's exactly the game plan here. We could also swing really big, but I think just establishing some kind of blocker is fine. We are going to just poke for 5, see if they just take it. Okay, that's fine. We'll go ahead and play the Mr. 3 Galdino and pass. Now, we're going to definitely play the 5-cost Hannibal into the Inazuma this next turn. Let's put those off to the side. What we could do is counter out of this 1 attack. I think we could just counter out of this with the 1-cost or the 1k counter, and then we'll draw into a card. Drawing into the card means we will be at... They play Perona, so they're playing the really annoying version of yellow Luffy. We'll play out the Hannibal, pitching the Jinbei, Prince, and Inazuma, establishing the 6-cost Inazuma, and then drawing 4 at the end of the turn, hopefully finding an there we go, Ivankov, love to see it. Hopefully we find something to be able to bring out with it, because of the fact that the Bond Clay, the 5-cost Bond Clay is not too good, but it might be our only option. We'll have to see what they do here. I think we just counter out as much as possible. We could also block some of these attacks as well. Here's the Nami pitching an Absalom. Pretty solid play to be able to fill up their trash with a card that's dead regardless, so that if they do have a trigger to bring it out, they can. We'll go ahead and pitch with the Kaya. And then I think what we could do is actually pitch the 0-cost event and the Bond Clay, just so that we are down to drawing 1 card, so that when we play the Ivankov, we draw 2 in the process. We, at very worst, we'll go ahead and swing the Inazuma first, just to get the Perona out of the field or get 2 cards out of hand. If that doesn't work, then what we can do, they're just going to probably freeze the buggy. Okay, 5 into lead here. Otherwise, we would have swung 5 into Perona, just asking for more cards. And then, of course, here is the 7-cost Ivankov, hopefully drawing something that's good, but we might not have the option. We'll see. They pitched the Kikunojo thinking I was at 5 or 3 life, but hey, it is what it is. The Bond Clay was the only option, unfortunately, but we do draw a lot of 2Ks. Kayas are really nice to have here to be able to pitch out. On 8, they do have the option of playing the 8-cost Kid to pitch a life, or to trash a life rather. They're just going to go ahead and play another Nami to kind of clear our board in the process. I don't hate it. I don't hate that. They do want to kind of quell our aggression, because Luffy's not necessarily a deck that handles a lot of bodies swinging at them a lot. It's just yellow in general. They're going to go, okay, wow. We'll give them a 2k here, because, yeah, that's not the best play overall. We have a couple of options. We have the option to play Kaya to see if we can dig a little bit deeper. First off, though, let's get rid of this Nami. So we'll swing the 7-cost Ivankov into the Nami. They're going to give us a 2 and a 2. Okay, they're just filling up their trash in the process. This is really the, I think, best way to play against Luffy. Go wide, answer their board where it makes sense. We'll use the Kaya. I think Kaya is the best option here. Okay, yeah, Kaya is the best option. We'll pitch out the Inazuma, and we'll pitch out the Shiryu. We don't necessarily need the Shiryu right now. We have the option of, or the opportunity to draw into it later. We'll swing 6 in a lead here. Do they counter out? They give us a 2k, and then what we'll do is we'll play the Ivankov over, and then we'll play the Inazuma, and I will just pass the turn, drawing 2 cards off the 6-cost Inazuma. And we have plenty of ways to be able to protect ourselves this turn. We have a couple of blockers on the field. I think we're in a really good spot. They could play out the 9-cost Bonnie this turn, but we're at 5 life. They have not been able to dent our life at all because of the fact we've been countering out of everything. And I think they realize that it's pretty much over at this point because of the fact that they don't have a way to break through these blockers, and we have a very wide board with very little counter in their hand in general. On to Foxy. I think that this deck is actually really, really strong right now. Very strong leader ability, just being able to freeze things. This hand is not the worst because we do have a combo. Let's pitch the Jinbei. We've just not been able to really play that. We'll pitch the Luffy because of the fact that I want to play the Hannibal into the Inazuma. We'll swing 5 into lead here, and then what we can do is play out the Galdino. They don't really have a great way of resting it other than maybe slow beam, so we'll keep it on the field in the meantime. But if they do decide to swing really big, I might just want to go ahead and block that hit. I want to make sure that I get the full Inazuma ability, and I don't want to pitch a card from hand because I want to have to pitch 3, of course, to be able to get the Hannibal into the Inazuma. So that's just why I'm going to snap block that one. And then, of course, we're going to draw for the turn. We'll pitch the Bond Clay, the Shiryu, and whatever we draw. They are able to get a Tony Chopper off of the Porsche, but they bring out the Inazuma instead. Solid play. Here we'll swing 5, and then I'm not really worried about them using their leader ability this next turn, so I think it's fine to just go ahead and swing. We'll go ahead and play at the Inazuma and then draw. Okay, so this is not the best hand for this next turn because what we want to see is a 7-cost Ivankov, but we're either going to have to take a hit here in order to dig for it, or we'll have to hopefully draw into it. If we don't, We do have options, of course. We do have the double buggy to play out and an Inazuma as well to play out. So we do have options. They are playing the Bond Clay out, which is an unfortunate card to see with us pitching a Luffy, of course. So it is what it is. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. Here, we will go ahead and counter out of the one Porsche swing that they have, and then we can block the Foxy swing. They do have the opportunity to freeze our leader. Will they, though? We'll see. We'll see. The 7-cost Foxy is pretty annoying. One of the reasons why Shiryu's pretty solid to kind of like tempo them back. Also, the Jinbei's pretty good for that reason as well. We'll pitch the Inazuma because we can't play 2 in 1 turn anyway. And then if they swing 5 here, they decide not to. They know that it's kind of like all for nothing. We'll go ahead and then I think we just swing the Inazuma into the Porsche just to answer it, see if we can get it off the field, knowing that this Inazuma is probably going to be frozen. Let's go ahead and grab, I think the new Kama Land's probably better in general, just to go ahead and establish this. I think it's a good card to have. Here, we'll go ahead and just use the ability. Okay, we are able to get the Ivankov for the next turn established. We'll go ahead and play the Inazuma out, and I think we go ahead and just play the buggy as well, seeing what we can grab. Shiryu is a really good option to go ahead and grab. The 2K is good as well, but I think having the option of either the 7-cost Inazuma or 7-cost Ivankov or the Shiryu, having both of those options are pretty solid. Here, I would imagine either the 7-cost we know about, or they could play the new 8-cost Foxy, which rests a 9-cost or lower. I think it draws 2 cards, pitches 1 as well. Really just great synergy with what the leader's trying to do. Filling up their hand a little bit more, and then also resting something to be able to freeze it. I didn't swing with my leader because I don't want my leader to be frozen quite yet. I think we want to be able to answer something on the field first. If that's the case, we want to use our leader to poke at something that they've rested on their side. So if they swing with the Porsche, we can poke at it. If they swing with the Bond Clay, we can get rid of it. So I think it's good to not lose too much tempo there. But of course, this is the very likely, if they do have it, the 8-cost Foxy. Okay, it's the 7-cost Foxy. We knew about this card. That's totally fine. Good play regardless. I'm actually happy to see this one because I don't want them drawing more cards, and I also don't want them resting something else on my side of the field. Pretty annoying overall. Do we take this one? We could just take this one. I think, maybe we should have blocked that one. Block 2K. But I also don't want to lose, like, or have them poke into something else. So here they're just going to use the ability to freeze the Inazuma. Totally fine. We're going to go ahead and just block this one with the Hannibal. And then if they decide to swing 7 with the Porsche, then we can just block it. But I think they're just leaving open 2 for what? A potential slow beam? We'll have to see. But yeah, this is not great to have 2 Shiryus in hand because of the fact that, well, one of them is going to be put into the trash. So let's go ahead and just swing. We'll swing 1 into 1. We'll risk the fact that they might have a slow beam. They also might protect this. Yeah, they're looking to protect it, interestingly enough. I don't blame them. They're probably just trying to bait out my leader swing. Yeah, that might be the case. We'll go ahead and swing Inazuma because, of course, the 6-cost Inazuma is probably their best option for this. We'll go ahead and bounce the Foxy back, and then I think we're just not opting to draw, or not opting to swing, rather. We'll leave one of the Hannibals up just in case they decide to go after the 4-cost Inazuma. This is a pretty good option for them to play the 8-cost Foxy because it will rest the Shiryu, and then they'll freeze the Shiryu, of course. Pretty annoying overall. They are running 8-cost Rayleigh. Love to see that. I think that's a pretty solid card. We don't see it in too many decks because of the fact that it is kind of a 9-cost rusher because if you want to get the full ability off, resting a 5-cost, you have to have a Dawn attached somewhere. But I do think that that card is pretty solid, especially in this deck. Being able to rest something is, you know, great synergy with the leader ability. Here they're just going to swing 5 into lead, and I'm tempted to just block this one. A free block is always nice. If they decide to try to answer something on the board with the Porsche, then, like I said, we have the leader ability to be able to swing into it. But I think they understand that I'm also not swinging because of that reason. So they're probably not going to swing with the Porsche. They might. I mean, it's just sitting there. Otherwise, they're kind of just like losing out on a potential counter out of my hand. Okay, here they go. They go Porsche into, what, my leader? Yeah, Porsche into leader. We'll go ahead and give them a 2K because I kind of want to keep the Dewfall and the Inazuma up as well. I think those are good cards, or good options at least. Inazuma into the Porsche is fine. I would imagine they're probably going to counter out of this one as much as possible. We'll go ahead and swing the Inazuma into the Porsche, see if they get a block. They just let it go. Love to see. And at this point, I think it's fine to go ahead and start swinging with our leader. I don't see a problem with that. Let's go ahead and pitch and see what we can get. I think we just pitch out the Inazuma. We could play this Luffy and then bounce. Yeah, I think the Luffy's our best bet. We're going to bounce back the chopper. So this way we can swing with our leader pretty big. Let's go ahead and swing 6 into lead. And then I think we just play over the 4-cost Inazuma, or maybe the Hannibal is a little bit better here. Seeing what we draw is pretty solid. 0 cost plus 2 1Ks plus a potential. Okay, so it's a buggy. I was going to say if it's a potential non-counter, we have the 0 cost event. Is getting rid of our Hannibal there. Inting, not really. I think it's fine to have a blocker to protect, because they're definitely going to go after the board this turn. Freezing the 8-cost Shiryu, and then probably going after the 6-cost Inazuma. Yeah, totally expected. We'll give them a 0-cost event, protect the unit, and then if they decide to go into it again, we can use the Duval to block. And then we have the Buggy Searcher for this next turn. The Buggy Searcher is... I'm blocking this one for sure. Buggy Searcher is really good here because we can probably find a potential new Shiryu. Yeah, I think that's probably what we can do. Let's go ahead and play the Buggy out, see what we can grab. Shiryu is our best option. Yep, Shiryu's great here. What we're going to do is we're going to put 1 Don underneath the Luffy. We're going to swing into the Foxy, bouncing the chopper back. So we're swinging 7k double attack, meaning they have to give us a 2 and a 1. And then we're not losing any cards in the process from hand, so we're getting our full maximum efficiency here with the Shiryu. We're not going to use it just quite yet. We're going to swing 6 in the lead because of the fact that we buffed our Inazuma up because we have 1 card in hand. They give us a 2k. 1 more 6 in the lead, seeing if they give us 1 more 2k. They do have it. And then we're going to bounce the 8 cost back to hand and then draw 4 in the process. Oh my god, this is great. This is exactly what we want to see. We want to see all of these counter cards to be able to protect the units, a potential searcher for the next turn. Also, there's no reason for us to use new combo land that previous turn because of the fact that we basically had what we needed. So using it's kind of not a great use of it. You don't have to use it every turn. Here's a really interesting turn for them. They might just play the 8 cost again. I think they're opting not to, which is fine. Maybe they're going pretty wide. I think the 8 cost is probably solid regardless because they could still freeze something and then draw cards in the process. Maybe they're looking to grab a Tony Chopper with the Porsche. They grab the Gina though. Maybe they already have a Chopper in hand. Regardless, I think it's a really tough turn for them because of the fact that I have the Luffy double attack looming. And I also have this 8 cost Shiryu, which... they can't do anything about the second one. They can at least freeze one of them and freeze my leader, and then I'm going to have all of these swings coming at them, and I'm going to be able to likely protect whatever they decide to throw at me this turn with their current units. Okay, I lied. The Divine Departure is pretty good here. What do we do is the question. Now, do they swing... 8 into it is obviously going to go down. Okay, 8 into lead. I mean, yeah, I'm going to take this one, of course, see if I can get more counter to be able to protect this Luffy. They're going to go 6 into Luffy. I actually can protect this, to be honest. They could also swing the 3 cost Ito into me, but I think I want to... I kind of want to be cheeky here and just dump my hand and see if they also follow up with the 3 cost Ito swing. Let's go ahead and just give them everything we have in hand. Because we can. And, I mean, is it the best use of our turn? Maybe we'll force them to use the Ito. They are going to use the Ito, and it goes down. Unlucky, but here we can at least... really push forward. I think what we do is we just start off with a 7. I think a 7 swings pretty solid, getting 2 cards out of hand. Do we want... I don't care about the Foxy. Let's just swing into the leader. 7 into lead. We'll go 9 into lead with the Shiryu, and then we can put the rest on to the Inazuma if we can. Like, if they just counter out, they don't. So we'll put the rest on and then swing 15 into lead. This one, yeah, knowing that they have at least 1 brick in hand, yeah, I think that was a pretty good game. We were able to establish the Shiryu, get some good tempo, go very wide. Inazuma putting in work every turn was great. I was afraid that at some point he had heat his last haul, but that is not the case. We have a little bit of fresh air to breathe again. With that in mind, there are some changes I would like to make to the deck overall, and one of them is adding more new comma lands. I think that this card is incredibly important for what you're trying to do in the deck, being able to go through your deck, cycle it, and then also pitch cards when you need to, so you have the appropriate hand size at all times is really important. And this also turns Jinbei on very easily as well. So I think this card is incredibly important. I'm running it at 2 because obviously it's a brick, but I think having 3 or 4 is also a solid option just to be able to see it and then also be able to use that ability every turn, dig deeper into the deck, set up your combo pieces. This is a combo-centric deck, so being able to find your combo pieces is incredibly important, of course. Is the Jinbei necessary for the deck? I don't think it's quite necessary. I think you can get by with having other cards instead, so you might want to replace this Jinbei with more Luffy copies. I think the Luffy is an excellent card here. I do think it's a huge threat for your opponent, but unfortunately, it is a card that's a little bit slow, so if it is on the field for a turn, your opponent can respond to it. And then one other card I have been considering, but I'm not really sold on quite yet, is the Gum Gum Champion Rifle. This came out in EBO1. It's a 1-cost counter event that says if your leader has the Impel Down type, give up to one of your leader or characters 2,000 power until the end of this battle. Then your opponent returns one of their active characters to the owner's hand. This might be useful in some scenarios, but what I find more often than not is that your opponent has already used a searcher and the searcher just sits on the field. So then you're giving them the opportunity to bounce that searcher back to their hand and have a card to be able to play the next turn to further find their pieces. Sometimes though, this is very effective in decks that just have tall characters, like against UP Luffy, for example, and they just go really wide. Bouncing one of their characters back to hand is pretty annoying for them, but I don't necessarily find this card useful at all times, but it is worth your consideration. Overall though, I think that this deck actually has a lot of legs. It's really interesting that it's just alive again. I just can't believe it. I've mentioned it so many times in the video, but it's interesting to see that there is some support coming from decks that are about to rotate out. So I really do appreciate that. I don't think that this deck is going to do well in any kind of treasure cups or regionals, and I think mostly because of the fact that I don't think people are just going to want to play it or even think about it. But it is worth noting that this deck is very volatile, especially if it sees exactly what it needs. Going 5 wide and every attack is about 7,000 power is really hard for decks to handle in general, and it always has been. So Ivankov had that strength back in OP02, and it especially sees it now in OP14. So is it worth playing? I think it is. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Ivankov. What other spicy picks have you added to the Ivankov deck? If you've even been playing Ivankov for that matter, let me know as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.